People who let their mom count to 0. What happened? I wouldn't get out of bed. When she got to 0, she sighed and left the room. Monsieur, I snickered to myself and went back to sleep. Woke up approximately 2 minutes later to a pitcher of ice water being poured from head to toe down the length of my bed. We never had a problem after that. She could just rattle a glass of ice water from down the hall and I'd have my shoes and socks on by the time she got to the door. Very effective. Ha, mine did the same thing. But I was a rebellious little snot, and just laid in that puddle of water. Tried like hell to go back to sleep. My mom didn't count down. She counted up. She would put her fingers up dramatically and you knew each finger was your own failure at not doing what she wanted right then and there. She would calm down if you did what she wanted before she got to the second hand. She would whoop you if she got counting to the second hand. If she went back to the original hand to count more, you get whooped and lose everything in your room. Monsieur, we siblings and I never made it to the fourth hand of counting. But once when I did almost get to the fourth hand, I straight up tried to jump out of the car. Wasn't in motion as we were at a light, but still, and just run away. The panic was real. I didn't know what I had done wrong at the time and I opened the door and went for it and got caught on the seat belt and fell out of the car and hurt myself. But it stopped her from counting. Lol. Your mom had 4 hands, of course you were terrified. Find out what happens, or jump out of the car and get hurt. Good choice. Well, a kid who's panicking because his mom is about to beat him in a whole new and unknown way makes poorly thought through decisions. Asterisk smack asterisk. Once my mom got really mad at me because I didn't want to clean my older brother's room and threw me out of the house. I spent the day with the dog and my dad snuck me some ham. Your good times. Edit. Why did I have to clean the room? Mainly because he never cleaned it, and for some reason my mom decided to raid the room. Monsieur, he was at work or college. So my mom decided to take her anger out on me by trying to make me clean it. It did not work, because you didn't want to clean his room. Why did you need to clean your brother's room in the first place? I second being curious on that. Out of context, that seems really shitty. I was so pissed of that I stood there until she reached 0. Then she hit me in the arm with the hairbrush, which was significantly big. It broke in two. I felt such a badass that I went on all that day showing the bruise in my arm and telling the story of how I broke the hairbrush in two. It hurt like hell, but I had a story. Okay, I thought your arm broke in two. Phew. She got the wooden spoon. Anyone else's mom have a giant wooden spoon? Mine did, and she broke it on my butt, then got mad at me for breaking it. My grandma did when my dad was a boy. She also Hiroko the wooden spoon on his ass. He started laughing. She went and got the meat tenderizer. He told me he had never run away from her faster in his life. As she reached the end of her count and her lips formed the word 0, her eyes turned cold and still. Suddenly both eyes had merged into one, and I saw a gaping black hole within. I knew I shouldn't have peered inside, but I did. Through the silent abyss I saw an ocean floor. It was dark, and I knew the surface was hidden miles above. The water was like a massive pool of ice and I was alone. Feeling so desperate and isolated, I gazed around, hoping to find some form of life. But alas, there was none to comfort me. The sound of silence willowed like a shadow across the sand. I didn't know when and I didn't know where from, but the end was awaiting me somewhere deep within that abyss. I held my breath and shook my head violently, and suddenly I was back at home again. My mother was still standing there towering above me, wooden spoon in hand. I ran into my room. Monsieur, never did I speak about what I saw that day, and never will I again. Edit. Didn't expect this to get any rep, let alone rewards. Thank you everyone so much. My mom stopped counting down after an incident with my older brother. He was around 4 at the time. He never let my mom get to 0. But one day he decided he would see what happened. He was playing outside the apartment in the street. My mom was yelling at him to come back, and then she started counting. He kept playing, testing her resolve, and then when she got to 0, she saw the car barreling down the street. She screamed for him to move, but he wouldn't, so she sprinted to him and pulled them out of the road right before the car got to where he was standing. That was the day she learned that when kids become defiant, counting doesn't work. My father usually did the physical disciplining, but he wasn't at home at the time. Once my mom finished counting to 0, she started yelling at me and grabbed at the paddle. She went on and on about how mad she was at me for making her do this, that it was really going to hurt, and even said the old, "This is going to hurt me more than it hurts you." She was losing her mind and I was absolutely terrified. Then she grabbed my arm, drew back the paddle, swung it down, and ***. She just couldn't bring herself to physically hurt me. Tears were streaming down her face. She was so upset. God help me, but I laughed. The 12-year-old little shit that I was thought it was absolutely hysterical. It was just that there was so much of a build-up, in that I truly believed that it was going to hurt like hell. But then ***. I genuinely felt bad laughing, but I couldn't stop. She then said something along the lines of, "You're in for it now." With her eyes all bugged out, she swung again and ***. That's when I started howling. I kept laughing through the next 7 or so hits, but they gradually started getting hard enough to not be funny. I did manage to stop laughing by the time I'd assumed the next hit would actually hurt, and played it up a bit. First and last time my mom ever hit me, as far as I can remember at least. You had a good moment, sure, she couldn't hurt you if she tried. She was right, it hurt her more than it hurt you. She actually kicked me out of the car and made me walk home. It was late, 10 p.m. or so, and dark, but I knew where I was. I started walking down the road and then there was a follow-up countdown to get me back in the car. Immediately, my mother slapped me across the face. Only once in my life. I was being a shitty tween and deserved it. I was so mad. I went into her makeup bag and made a pretty realistic bruise on my face that I wore for a few hours. She was horrified at what she thought she'd done, when it mysteriously vanished after washing my face. She was pissed. Pro gamer move right there. Silent treatment. If nothing else worked, my mom would enter a sort of "apparently you know better than I do" state of mind and pretty much ignore everything I do from that point onwards. Of course, her goal was to give me the feeling of her giving up on me and just leaving pathetic little me be. As one might guess, this always worked in her favor. You lucky bastard. Mine tried that once, but lasted about 30 seconds before losing her patience and shot-putting my ass. When I was really young, my older brothers, all 10 years plus older, would tell me how mom would get and use the dog lead if she was serious. I never took notice of it really. Fast forward to being 15. My living room has a large round dinner table, and my brother and mum are in the same room as her. Upon reaching 0, I shit you not, she goes and gets this long metallic dog lead and starts lassoing it like a veteran cowboy. Then proceeds to chase me around the table. The whole time, I'm screaming to my brother to help me as his eyes paint a poor guy. But we warned you, picture. In the end, I did what you wanted me to do. Don't mess with your mother people. They're bloody tough. Nice abuse. That's what I keep thinking in this thread, pretty much everything but the ice water one. I learned about what an asymptote is. 2.1, a half, a quarter. I learned about fractions that day also. She said, "Ready or not, here I come." This isn't me writing this. This is my clone in the afterlife. I think all those kids are still on timeout. I think all those kids are no more. No. Some of them are still around. I let my kids live. Though I'm a dad, so maybe this doesn't count for the statistics. One time I got to 3 with one of my kids and then I went to move and he ran down the hallway yelling, "Ah," and jumped into bed. Bed being the outcome I was hoping for. It was really difficult to not laugh about it. I'm not really sure what the awe was in anticipation of. I wasn't going to hit him or anything. I was just going to pick him up and return him to bed. Again, and tell him to stay there. Again. So yeah, make me laugh and I'll let you live. A favorite story in my husband's family. When he was about 4 to 5 years old, his mother got to 0. She broke the wooden spoon over his ass and this kid stone cold turns to her and goes, "That didn't hurt, but I'll choose to behave." And that about sums up everything you need to know about Hi Monsieur. That didn't hurt. What a mistake you made by saying that. No one here could answer honestly. Those kids didn't make it back to tell us. Honestly though, I did witness the result in a friend's house. Once his mom got to 0, she told him to get the kit. It was a set of boxing gloves for her and a helmet for Hi Monsieur. They squared up and she went at Hi Monsieur. He was allowed to dodge or block blows, but couldn't hit her back. When it was over, he put the kid away and came back to playing GoldenEye. Pistols only in the basement. Yes, I remember exactly what we were playing. Totally not proud of this, but my mom never laid a finger on me again. I took .50 for a ticket to go on a ride at a small town carnival that was going on. I went home and my mom was seeing red over those 2 quarters. She couldn't buy cigarettes apparently. As soon as I walked through the door, she told me to get to my room and of course I mouthed off. Typical teenager. She counts down to 0, stomps over to me with a belt in her hand, yanks me by my hair into the room and starts to beat the shit out of me with a belt buckle. I don't remember how it happened, but I managed to get the belt and I started hitting her with a buckle. I've never seen her face look like that in my life. Horrified, I told if she ever laid a finger on me again I would kill her. I moved out of the house shortly after. We do not have a relationship to this day. I don't miss her. Can't validate what you did, but I can't blame you either. It sucks that a mother beats her son like that for not being able to satisfy her addiction. God damn it, the belt buckle. That's not even discipline anymore. That's just plain abuse. Glad you stood up for yourself even if you went beyond what was necessary to stop her. Anyways, hope you're doing fine now. This is my philosophy at the very least. Beating, cheating, assaulting your child. Yes, in your parents' eyes this isn't any of these, but in the real world it is not a good way to raise them, Monsieur. You're causing them to fear you and they will try to hide. What they did harder next time is not to get caught and have a repeat of the previous incidences. Child abuse is not okay. Don't try to sugarcoat it with parenting. I'm also the kind of person, if you're going to hit me with an object I will make defend myself. I won't cause harm, but I will do everything in my power to make it more difficult for you to hit me. Either by taking the item away. This is in the case of someone trying to discipline me with a beating. Or by subduing them from being able to hit me. Obviously there are cases where this doesn't work, like with a weapon like a gun or other dangerous object. But we are people and you being our father doesn't give you the right to cause us harm, Monsieur. She taught you violence is the answer and you learned. Well, 2020. I got my ass beat. I concur. Well, I ran to the hills. Unfortunately, she drove to the hills. Ran for your life. It was never my Monsieur, it was my dad. I got the belt once or twice, but he preferred the switch. He let my sister and I pick it out our own and we thought the thin ones would hurt less. We were stupid. They did not hurt less. My sister and I picked our mom's thin little accessory belt from all our stepdad offered, thinking the same thing. Oh hell, do I ever relate. She went to get my dad. That's when I got worried, lol. Wait till your dad gets home. Those words put the fear of God in me. I knew if my dad found out I was in deep shit, lol. Those words would instantly make us stop acting up. And most of the time she'd forget by the time he got home, but the times she didn't forget, LMAO, same. I remember one time my dad came in, told me he was going to stand here for a minute and then walk out. He said for me to come out a few minutes later and make it look like he yelled at me. I forget what I got in trouble for, but he thought it was funny and wasn't going to punish me. Thank you so much for watching and have a good day.